What's up guys, Austin here, and I'm going to be showing you how to make any melody metal. So first we're going to look at some basic concepts and then apply them to a melody. So first, power chords and tremolo picking. So these are two simple things that you might know how to do, but I'm just going to run through them really quickly. So power chord is when you have a root and a fifth, and you just play those two notes. And tremolo picking is just playing the same note really fast a bunch of times. So you can just use these two things to really make any simple melody sound more metal, and you can hear this on a lot of different genres. So I'm going to use this on a classical piece here. So as you can see, the sound of the piece really transformed as you play differently. So in the last example, you saw me using palm muting a lot, and that's another good technique to use. And you can see this a lot with pedal point. So for example, in Spirit Crusher by Death, something like that. You can hear in a lot of songs where you palm mute a low note and then play a melody on top of it. So I'm going to take a melody and then transform it into that. So let's say we have this. So originally, it doesn't sound very interesting, but if you add in some rhythm and palm muting, you can make it sound like this. So as you can see, using the palm muting and then also some of the power chords at the end there, it made it sound a lot more interesting and kind of metal, like a melodies song or something like that. But what you might be thinking is, this sounds too major, it sounds too happy, right? You need to change it. So another thing you can do is just change the melody to minor and add in some non-chord tones or non-diatonic notes. So if we change the melody to this, sounds more interesting. And then we can add in more notes as we play the riff to make it sound more evil, basically. So as you can see, it's already starting to sound like a full song, like a riff that you would hear in a song. So that's a good example of how palm muting and pedal point can change how melody sounds, and by just changing it to a minor key and adding in certain notes. Like a good example is the sharp 4 and the major 7th. They kind of make it sound more evil and darker, so that's a good example of that. And just in general, using chromaticism, so like it makes it sound more dissonant, which just helps for the metal sound. So the last technique that I think makes melodies more metal would just be really a collection of extended techniques. So for example, sweep picking, pinch harmonics, and such like that. So here's some examples. You have things like Orbis by Gojira. Next is sweep picking, which isn't really used for melodies, but more for chords. So if you want to arpeggiate some chords you have, and you see this a lot in neoclassical music where they will do this all the time. Something like that to start off a solo, or even in rhythm parts, like in between. Like, that's a common diminished arpeggio that's used. The next technique is pick scrapes, which you don't see as much. But take, for example, Bad Omen by Megadeth. So you can see how it's like a rhythmic effect, and it helps to add, like that on its own won't be as interesting, but with that it adds more rhythm to it and makes it more interesting. And then also we have rakes, I believe they're called, and you see this a lot in like breakdowns like djent or metalcore. Well, they will like rake the pick across the strings, kind of like doing a sweep picking upwards, but across some of the harmonics, so like on the 7th, 5th, or like even 2nd fret, and it creates like a interesting sound, and you can use it to add to like a breakdown, for example. So that's an example of it. And lastly, we have pinch harmonics, which you can see in all kinds of metal. And they're one of the more difficult things to do if you don't know how to do it and you're like trying to learn how to do it. It can be difficult at first. Basically, you have to touch the string with your thumb as you pick it. And you have to hit it in the right spot. And you can use this in various ways, but it's a good way to accent a note because it basically lets out a harmonic of the note, so it's still the same note, but it's like a higher octave. So you hear some breakdowns a lot, but also just in regular riffs. Something like that would be a good example of pinch harmonics being used.